Hello, everyone. And this is the final remarks lecture that I'll have. And as you know, last lecture was related to modeling in multi-levels. And as a part of the final remarks, I'm just going to summarize what you have learned and what we have covered. And I'll be giving you more information about how you can actually have further more knowledge in data analytics and decision making. And as a part of this camp, we covered pivot tables. I used some of the YouTube videos as well as some of the videos that I recorded. Majority of the videos were the ones that I recorded for you. And you get to have the StatProGo Excel add-in installed and run throughout the camp period, and you had many examples for StatProGo implementations. And I also gave you an idea about how to implement StatProGo and pivot table analysis on these examples that I provided for you. And you'll learn how to analyze data sets by using various techniques throughout this camp, especially modeling related ones. And thank you for participating to this worldwide online Quinnipiac University Industrial Engineering Camp, which is on data analytics and decision making. I hope you all took advantage of this great opportunity and enjoyed the camp materials and learn how to analyze data sets and make decisions in real-life applications. What I covered throughout this camp are basically on the data sets that you could understand and be able to follow up on the meaning of the content. And as you can imagine, it is not really easy to adapt it to other places, or for me to be able to give various examples in many real-life settings. So you need to be able to come up with all these on your own and structure your own data set. Or if you're given a data set now, you know how to categorize the data, like qualitative information given, how to convert it to quantitative data, as well as how to come up with dummy variables, something we covered also. And through this type of structure, if you come up with your own data set in your workplace, you can actually analyze the data by segmenting, by grouping them, and come up with meaningful outcomes. And you can use StatProGo from this point on to be able to analyze these data sets that you can have in life. And some of the examples we covered include call center data and real estate data. For example, if you decide to buy a house one day, or if you like to get into real estate business one day, you can actually see the expenses of the houses and be able to find the right price for a house based on the quantities, or based on specific property qualities of the data. Or it could be region-based, it could be related to many things. You can analyze the real estate data based on the houses sold, and you can analyze employee salary data, which is something that you get to see maybe on a daily basis in your workplace. You can actually analyze healthcare data in many different ways. And another real estate example we covered was related to Washington, D.C. real estate sales. Again, it was very similar to Hong Kong real estate data that we covered, with certain differences. Then we dealt with car auction data, pay scale data, and this data was related to the scale, the payments of certain employees, and they were grouped into 8 different categories, and we actually came up with dummy variables for all 8 levels of employment, and came up with a meaningful outcome for that. And customer mailing data was the last one that we again dealt with last lecture, and this had certain information on customer and figuring out what type of customer should be receiving more catalogs than the others based on the columns or the performance measures or the variables that are provided to you, whether the person is married or not, man or woman, and so on and so forth. All these variables were incorporated as a part of the solution to actually analyze which customers should receive more catalogs than others for better revenue generation. And throughout the camp, we covered pivot table applications such as data grouping, segmenting through row and column separation, and we dealt with statistical analysis and choosing appropriate graphs, tables, and charts for different data sets. These are important aspects of data analytics and decision making, because if you don't have the right approach to the type of data set, then you may have the wrong outcomes as a part of the solution. And as you can imagine, this camp is not requiring any type of mathematical background, for that matter, very basic number knowledge, and that's what I try to stick to. Other than the Excel functions that I used, I try to not get into any mathematical explanations throughout the camp. And some of the StatProGo applications that we dealt with included correlation analysis, and again, we did not really get into mathematical intensity of this. Correlation analysis, how variables or unknowns are correlated with each other. And we first dealt with generating models with only one input and one output. For example, the input can be just the location of the house in the region, or another example could be whether a person is a male or female, and the output could be the corresponding payment to the person. And we can generate a model by relating these two, input and output. Then we dealt with generating models for several inputs and a single output. For example, the person can be a male or female and could be scaling the service like we covered in the call center, and there could be other factors that could impact the satisfaction level of the customer, which could be the output that we have. And we can work on how to see how these inputs are related to the output through modeling, which is what we did with StatProGo. And we dealt with the meaning of adjusted R-square. We said as good as the adjusted R-square is as good as it is for a model that we come up with in StatProGo application. And the p-value should be about less than 0.2 or 20%. And you can use backward elimination if we get to see adjusted R-square low and p-values high. So that's something we also covered with several examples close to the end of the camp. We talked about residual plus and their analysis, modeling by using binary variables. If a variable has output 0 or 1, then we need to use binary variables. The variable could be qualitative, such as yes or no, then we need to use 0 or 1. Or it could be yes, no, and maybe 3 options for the variable, then we can use 0, 1, and 2 for each one of those. 0 could be no, 1 could be maybe, 2 could be yes. And we could do several binary variable approaches in such a fashion. At the moment that we thought linear model is not good enough, we said quadratic variables might be necessary to add, and we covered those. We added actually more columns in the data set by taking the square of the corresponding columns. For example, if age is there, we squared numbers of age under the h column to come up with h squared quadratic variable. And that's how we came up with the quadratic modeling aspect of it. And then we actually dealt with interaction variables, which is the multiplication of variables, existing variables, throughout the camp as a part of the implementations. In addition to these, we covered natural logarithmic application, as you know from the last lecture. How do we take ln of a model? And that was another variable that we covered in the last lecture. So as you know, there are certain tasks assigned for you under the assignment tab. And the camp period actually ends on July 25th, but I'm going to give an extension and make it July 29th. If you'll be interested in completing all the tasks. And I would like to have your feedback on your work, especially I'll be giving you feedback on your work, but I'd like to also have your feedback on the camp development and how much you liked it, what did you think about it. So there'll be an assignment for that as a part of this camp. And I'll appreciate the positive feedback because I try to stay away from mathematical intensity, even though this is very highly mathematical, and try to explain you from a logical perspective about how we analyze data sets, different data sets, and how we come up with meaningful outcomes from these data sets. So as a part of all these tasks completed by you, I'll be giving you grades, and if your average is out of 70 out of 100, then you'll be assumed to be successfully completed, and at this point you can actually put this camp as a really rewarding camp, completed camp, as a part of your CV or resume. And I can actually also reference that if it will be needed as a part of it. So your feedback, if you can please write a page-long report on what you think about the camp and what you liked, particularly what you liked, and some maybe points to be improved if there'll be any. It will be really appreciated. And the expectations are 12 font, single space, 5-inch margins on sides for this 1-page long summary. Now, I would like to explain how this camp relates to industrial engineering and how we use these concepts. What I chose for you actually comes from 2 data analysis related courses that we have in industrial engineering. One of them is called decision analysis currently, but it's going to be called data analytics and decision making, or data analytics only, data analytics 1 in the near future. And the other one is called data analytics 2. So in the industrial engineering program, actually students get to learn how to analyze data sets in this fashion, and this is a profession by itself. There's mathematical intensity throughout the camp and throughout the courses, and these courses would require mainly statistics knowledge, and you can analyze many different data sets as a part of that. And as you probably know, analyzing data sets is a job itself in many different areas. Data analytics and decision making is very popular in real life. Therefore, some of our students even find jobs just as a part of these 2, actually just as a part of one of the courses that we cover in industrial engineering, which is data analytics 1. But this course, data analytics 1, is mainly liked by our IE students. Therefore, I just developed data analytics 2 course as a part of it. And the camp material actually comes from the 2 courses. One of them, data analytics 1, is a junior level course. Actually, sophomore can also take it. And the other one is a junior or senior level course that we have in the industrial engineering program. Therefore, what you learned throughout the camp actually corresponds to university level statistics-oriented data analytics and decision making, but it stays away from mathematical intensity calculations and some other programming aspects that we cover in the industrial engineering program, such as SAS Studio program, R program, SPSS program, which are also covered in the industrial engineering implementations. So if you fulfill the prerequisite of this, I can recommend you to take these courses if you're qualified. If you like to have much more knowledge in these areas, especially programming perspective and some other perspectives. And also VBA in Excel is covered as a part of Data Analytics 2 course in the Industrial Engineering program. And thank you very much for being a part of this camp. I appreciate it. I especially enjoyed trying to teach what I like, and I try to keep it as good as it can be, and try to make it the least mathematical that I can throughout the camp. And I hope you all enjoyed the camp materials and learned a lot, because it is very important for me if you get to learn a lot from this camp. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me regarding to the camp, or if you like to work on analysis of data sets in your profession, because in the industrial engineering program, each course has a course project with companies or organizations. Each course. Therefore, all industrial engineering courses, I should say. Therefore, these data analytics courses can also have course projects with professionals as yourself, and work on analysis of data sets if you'll be interested in. I hope you learned a lot again, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, throughout the camp, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the summer period. And if you have any questions related to assignments or related to the camp material, please don't hesitate me through my Quinnipiac email address. Thank you.